everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and I'm so excited because today I get to share another awesome conversation with you that I had with my good friend, Jasmine Starr. I have been a fan of Jasmine for years. Jasmine is an entrepreneur. She is a business strategist, and she specifically helps business leaders grow their social media platforms. She also is a photographer. She can do a lot. I know you will love her as much as I do. Check out my conversation with Jasmine. Jasmine, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. We were just talking offline. It has been a dream of mine to have you speak at our Business Boutique conference for years. And so I'm so glad this dream is finally coming true. And I've been a fan forever, but for anyone watching or listening that doesn't know anything about what you do, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, your family, and also your business and what you're working on.
Thank you. Well, my name is Jasmine Starr. I'm a photographer and business strategist from Newport Beach, California. And I empower small business owners to believe in the impossible, to build a brand and market it on social media.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so here's the thing. Talk to me about this transition between photography and business strategy. Like, did this happen at the same time? Did you kind of gradually make the transition? Because I've seen a lot of people that start out in their own craft and then start to teach people how they did what they did. Was that your story, or kind of take us back to the beginning?
Absolutely. So I'm a law school dropout. I'm a first-generation Latina, first-generation college graduate, and then the first in our family to pursue postgraduate. And I just felt like that was going to be my path. But I was wildly unhappy, and I just felt like I really wanted to do something creative in my life, but I just didn't have like the nerve to tell my parents, like, hey, I want to be a starving artist. Right. And so I took the safe and predictable path and went to law school. And unfortunately, during my first year of law school, my mom had a relapse of brain cancer, and it just forced me to just put like the brakes on, because I was just like, I'm unhappy in school. I'm 25 years old and she's 50 years old. And the doctors had said after 8 years of her battling cancer, her time had come. And I had a midlife crisis. She was 50, I was 25, and I just had to ask myself, if I have just 25 years left in my life, what do I want to do? Right. And the answer was, I don't want to die a lawyer. And then I thought to myself, well, wait, I'm not guaranteed 25 years. I'm not even guaranteed 25 minutes. Right. So what am I going to do with my wild and crazy life? And I, that day, walked into the dean's office. I was there on full scholarship, on an academic scholarship. And I said, I need a break. I need a medical leave. I need to be with my mom. And UCLA graciously gave me 3 years to go back and reclaim my scholarship. And so I called my boyfriend at the time, and I said, hey, I just left law school. He's like, great, do you want to get dinner tonight? And I was like, no.
No, I
left. They're like, I'm out, like, peace out, deuces, we're done. And he's just like, okay. But what I didn't know was that because I was on scholarship, the scholarship covered my campus housing. Since I was no longer a student, I no longer had a house.
No.
So what does any good brown girl do? You move home. That's what you do. You pack your bags. We packed this like beater of a truck. We drove back home. And I remember climbing the stairs to my mom's bedroom, and I crawled into bed with her, and I put my nose to the back of her neck, and she smelled like Pond's facial cream and eucalyptus. And I just thought to myself, I just made the best decision of my life. And then the next morning, I wake up in the same bed I slept throughout high school, and I see like an NSYNC poster on the wall, and I see like a cheerleading megaphone, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just made the biggest mistake of my life. But you know, the thing that I knew was that I didn't know my next step, but I knew that I wanted to get married. I had been dating my high school sweetheart. My mom had been just in love with him, and I knew we wanted to get married. And so we planned a wedding in 3 months, and the doctor said, she can't travel, she won't be able to walk, she won't be able to talk, she won't be able to get approved for her flights. And in spite of all those odds, the one thing that the doctors didn't know that her family knew was that my mom would fight to have her way. Like, she's just a fighter, a very quiet fighter, not a strong personality. And so in faith, we booked tickets to Hawaii, and we just said, our families are going out there. There's 22 of us. And we got married on a beach in Hawaii, and my mother walked me down the aisle. Wow. She gave me away, and she was like this kind of like North Star. Right. And I thought to myself, okay, like, what is happening right now is, number one, the best day of my life. And number two, I'm seeing somebody document not just my wedding, but documenting a miracle, like, in the process. And I thought that that photographer had the best job to ever exist. And so I go back home. I have to go back to UCLA. I have to make a declaration if I'm going to go back, and I'm just crying. My poor brand new husband is like, what did I just get married to? And he asked me the kindest, most generous question anybody could ever ask. And he said, if you could do one thing for the rest of your life and be happy, what would it be? I said, I think I want to be a photographer. And he's like, okay, great, but you don't own a camera.
Minor detail.
And I was like, I know, just small, just tiny. So that Christmas, crazy, amazing, beautiful person that he is he bought me a very simple camera. And he said, hey, you have 3 years to go back to law school. Why don't you just spend a year and like take it off and experiment and see what happens? And I said, okay, I have 1 year, and if it fails, I go back to school. And then in that first year, I just took every job, every gig, shot every moving, non-moving, inanimate thing, and somehow was able to book clients so that by 2007, my photography business just completely took off. And then by 2010, he had transitioned into the business with me, and our business was nominated as some of the best photography in the world, top 10 photographers in the world. So it was an incredible ride.
That is insane. First of all, I didn't even know half of that story. That's insane. I want to go back to so many pieces. I have so many questions for you. Okay, so let's go back to the identity crisis of goodbye law school, your Jerry Maguire moment, you're grabbing the goldfish, you're out of there. Minor detail, you did leave your housing behind. Think about that.
Yes.
Talk to me about that identity crisis moment, because I think a lot of women that I work with, Jasmine, are either at that stage or they got into business because of that season of life. And maybe they didn't go through something with their mother like you did that gave you that perspective. But just like you said, you one night were like, this is the greatest decision I've ever made. And the next morning, this is the worst decision I've ever made. And that's kind of the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship and being in the season where you realize, wow, I have a degree in this area, but I want to go in this area, or my business has been here, but I want to go here. And it's at that fork in the road that is so exciting and terrifying. So take us back there and like, how did you navigate that to stick with it even through the ups and downs?
If you will allow me to. So sometimes, I mean, let me just be honest, Christy. I'm a creative, so I love me some dark indie movies that, like very little lines,
emo,
very feelings.
Sure.
Yes, very emo. And a lot of those movies start at the end. And so I find myself talking and relating stories like let me tell you at the end. And look, let's work backwards. So I want to create a juxtaposition between who I was then making that decision and then who I am now having made that decision 2 or 3 times over, because it's looked very different for me at different stages of my life and my responsibilities. So at the time, I'll be very honest. My husband was with a startup company, and like startup is very generous to describe like what it feels to work out of somebody's garage. And he's like, putting on a tie, hopping in his like beat up Acura to like drive and be taking on meetings and selling something. And I had taken, when I left law school, I had taken a part-time job at my dad's church because I had to make money. And when people say it seems like a big risk, when I was so wildly unhappy in law school, and I wasn't making money, and I was living off scholarship money, like the quote unquote risk I had to take was choose this safe and predictable path and be miserable, or take every odd job to pursue something that you love on the off chance it could fill you with wild fulfillment. It didn't even seem like a choice there for me. But as different iterations of the business, I mean, one thing that you did mention was like, okay, how did that pivot from photographer to business strategist? When did that happen? And that took about 2.5 years, most of that happening behind the scenes. Why? I had so much more to risk. I had to be very careful of how the business appeared on the outside. I had to be very protective of like the brand. I had to be very protective of how people learned how to re-talk about me in new spheres and new stratas. So I can't say every time I make a decision, it's like all or nothing. The more responsibilities and the bigger my business gets and the bigger the team gets, I have to be much slower in making those decisions and making sure everybody's co-signing with that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think there's such wisdom to the seasons. And I think we underestimate the seasons. Like, I'm going to set a New Year's resolution in January and I'm still going to stick to it in November. I'm like, my priorities might be different in November. Maybe I've got new goals. So I love the idea of the ebb and flow with your priorities depending on what's going on in that season of life. Okay, you said something else, and I want to ask about this because this so resonates with my story of speaking. Here's what you said, and I think so many people miss it, Jasmine, especially with social media, which we're going to get to in a second because I want to ask you all about that. You said, I took any job ever. I'm like, yes, tell me about that, because so many people think like, oh my gosh, he bought you a camera and then the next day you were nominated greatest photographer on the planet. like, let's talk about that journey, because there's so much that happens in the grind, in the trenches, in the events that I bet you've got stories for days. I've got speaking events from family reunions, high school reunions, Kentucky County Libraries on a Friday night party. Like, I've got some disastrous stories. And so many people think it's just all the glamour and big stages, but talk about how you did that, why you did that, how you pushed through, because some people are there right now with those small jobs and they're going, oh my gosh, I think I'm better than this, or I've got dreams bigger than this. Let's talk about that season and how important that work is in that season.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit this, but when I opened the camera for Christmas, I was just like, oh, I mean, my time has come. Like, I'm ready. And,
I was destined.
I was destined. I mean, I was literally like, move over Annie Leibovitz, Ansel Adams, there's a new girl here. We're about to change the game. And I take out my camera. I opened the box on January 1st, 2006, because the year of 2005 was just a really hard year for me, all the way around, inside and out, top to bottom. And so I said, this is new beginnings for me. January 1st, 2006, this year is going to be different. So I take out my camera and I start shooting. And this is the first time, this is a transition from film to digital photography. Big time shift in the way that art is created in the photography medium. And so I put my digital card in and I'm looking at my computer. And my first thought was, these are awful. Like, my photos stink. I'm like, I'm terrible. And so then I do what any, internet searching person does. I go to University of Google and I'm like, how do you take pictures? I was like on YouTube, and I'm not like a book smarts kind of girl. And so my husband would read the photography manual and then break it down for me in a way that I would understand. Unknowingly to me, he's teaching himself photography, which was like, thank you, sweet baby Jesus, because he then became a big integral part of our business. But what I realized was that the quickest way for me to learn was to move all ego and expectations out of the way. Now that sounds like something I could look back on, like Brene Brown calls it gold-plated grit. Like when you could look at something from a distance and say, oh, that's what I did. But like legit, I had to make the cognizant decision to say, listen, people are gonna judge me. I know that I'm not so good at it, but the only way I get better is by putting myself again and again. And let me just tell you, if anybody has ever been told no, I'm gonna like up-level you and tell you that my daddy has a church in East Los Angeles where like I was praying for nepotism to kind of like play out and it didn't. Because I would go to people in church and be like, can I take your pictures for free? And people are like, no, it's okay. And I was like, do you know who my dad is? Like, should I drop that card? No, I didn't. But like, it was the people who begrudgingly agreed to sit for a portrait. It was the people who was just like, I knew that I wasn't ever going to get into family photography or children's photography, nothing against it. It just wasn't like my skill set. But I was like, you're a human being and you're breathing. I'm going to practice on you. Like, it was literally, I took my camera everywhere. I shot everything. And it was just in the amount of volume that you started getting little pieces of hope. And the more you did, the more that hope kind of manifested itself. And once you manifest it, you say, this body of work, and regardless of whether you're pursuing something creative, it could be you're in direct selling, it could be you're in dog walking, it could be in jewelry making, but the more you do of it, the better you get, and the smaller percentage of what is actually good, you could say, how can I replicate this? And then you deploy against that, and again, and again, and again, and you start with this big pool, and then you kind of get down to the little tiny nuggets of gold, and that was the thing that really catapulted my career. But it was simply by doing, without ego and without expectation.
I love that, and I think that's something that so many people miss because they feel like, oh, if I'm a beginner, or oh, if I'm not that good, my photos look awful, that it's a bad sign, I'm never gonna be good. But it's amazing how in those reps, like in my case, speaking or writing, in your case, in this example, photography, with every rep, you learn something, you gain more confidence, and then like, even if you have a critic, which is gonna happen along the way, you're less susceptible to it taking your feet out from under you the more you get it. So it's like you learn from each one. You're going, okay, now I'm a little bit better. I'm going to handle this differently. So now there's less and less things that can faze me, that startle me, that get me all worked up because I've had 10 years of being on stages in front of crazy audiences and weird things that happen and, funny stories for days just like you. And so I think there's something so magical that happens in those trenches that can't be fast forwarded. It can't be, you just flip a switch, you microwave it. Like it really is, there's something happening in you and in the business in that journey. Okay, I want to get to social media because Jasmine, I've got so many questions for you, and I know that you're going to talk about this at our event in October, but we're talking about social media specifically, and I want to ask you about it because I feel like it's a sweet spot for you. I know you know photography, you know business, but social media is one of those things that I feel like for most people, is this mythical, how do you make it work? I always feel like, speaking of, criticism, I feel like I'm always failing, falling behind, I'm not doing something right. Like, you have built an amazing platform and have 500,000 followers with some of your platforms. Talk to us about, like, what do you think has been key as you've been building your business for you to also be building your presence online, specifically with social media as that's been growing? And then I want to kind of unpack, like, what's working now, but kind of what have you done that's helped you get here?
The foundation is understanding the power of one. When you understand how powerful one follower is, it doesn't matter if you have 100 or 1,000 or 100,000 followers, is that every interaction is one unique stroke in being able to build a real relationship with people. And I will be the first to say that I am not cute or funny or wise or have a glamorous life or I'm extraordinarily good looking or extraordinarily fit. I'm kind of middle lane. I'm a middle of the road kind of girl. But what I am unparalleled with is the ability to connect with people on a one-to-one to make them feel known, seen, and heard. And the beauty about what I do is that it is 100% duplicatable and replicatable for anybody with a phone in their hand. Do you care about people? Do you want to empower people? Do you want to diminish fear? Do you want to give people hope? Whatever it is that you are selling, you're going to be solving a pressure point or empowering them with a pleasure point. Your opportunity on social media is to connect one-to-one and position your business as the only solution for the thing that they're looking for. What I do is what everybody can do, and it has become the foundation of my success.
Okay, I love this because I think that so many people get caught up in the numbers, and I love that you just take it down to one. You're like, oh no, it's not the 1,000,000 followers, like take care of the one, take care of the 100. And so often it's like, I think people have this idea, well, if I could just get to this many, if I could just get to this level, it's like, you've never made it. There's never a number where you go, I'm going to put my feet up and I'm done here. Like, if you don't take care of the 100, God's not going to give you 100,000 to not take care of either. So I just love this idea of faithfulness at every stage, starting with the one. I love that. Okay, let's talk about content because you put out.
But can we go back a little? Can we go back just as a quick caveat? When we talk about that, it's not because I'm trying to like hand out some like silver lining, like everybody gets a participation award. It's legitimately like your account will go farther if you have 1,000 followers who are engaged with what you're posting. It will be seen by more people with 1,000 followers who are actively engaging than having 10,000 followers who are casually scroll on by. If your objective is to be popular on Instagram, then sure, get those numbers. But if your objective is to run a profitable business on Instagram, the numbers don't matter, the engagement does. Because when you're connecting one-to-one, when you personalize the experience, the conversion rate to that smaller group of people is so much higher than the 10,000. So number one, ask yourself, do I want to be popular or profitable? Number two, if I want to be profitable, I have to understand that slow growth is good growth. And number three, how much time am I spending per day to engage with the audience that I have, not the audience that I want?
Oh, I love that. Okay, that right there, like we could camp there forever because I think so many people don't know that. They think it's the numbers. They think more is better, more reach. It's just, but I love that. You'd rather have 100 or 1,000 qualified, engaged people that love you. They're going, yes. Oh, you've got a book out. Oh, I can't wait to go check out your book. Versus 1,000,000 people that are like, I don't know who you are. I'm a spam bot and I'm not interested. So I love that. Okay, let's talk about content because we know content is the fuel that makes this go. You put out great content. I think a lot of business owners feel this pressure to be a content machine. And if they're the type of person where they don't have a ton of content ideas or just the whole thing feels a little out of their comfort zone, how do you help them with that? Like, how do you help them curate content? How do you personally even come up with your content? And especially when the well's kind of running dry or you're not inspired, like what does that process behind the scenes look like for you?
Well, it always comes back to, again, the power of one. I have created like an ideal customer profile, and I always think of her first. What is she laying up at night thinking about? What is she Googling? What is she searching for on YouTube? What article in the most recent magazine that she's reading did she find intriguing? My objective is to create content that is culturally relevant. I want to tap into the social conversation and then turn that back into my business. So this is something I talk about all the time with business owners, depending on the niche or industry that they're in. So if there was I had a conversation with a wedding planner, and she's like, I only seem to attract other wedding planners to my account. So number one, mindset shift. Well, congratulations on being so good. Your industry peers just want to like follow and creep on you, make sure that engagement is still a win. And then number two, it'd be like, you have to focus on the hashtags that you're using. If you're using hashtag wedding industry, wedding planner, wedding coordinator, those are okay, but you're going to be attracting other people in your industry. The idea to use hashtags is what I call stumble upon content. You have searchable content, so I'm going to Instagram specifically looking for a wedding planner in Chicago. That's searchable. I'm searching for it. Stumble upon is when I'm in a hashtag and I didn't know that I was looking for a wedding coordinator, or I didn't know I was looking for this person as my wedding coordinator, or my cousin's getting married. So what you want to do is use hashtags that are culturally relevant so you can culture hack. So for instance, when J-Lo got engaged, her and A-Rod, well, I would do a post as a wedding planner this is the inspiration board I would use for J-Lo. And then you hashtag J-Lo, A-Rod, J-Lo wedding. And so what you have to do is you're tapping into other social conversations. Same thing that we happen with The Bachelor. Are you a matchmaker? Are you talking about fashion? Can you use Bachelor hashtags and create content for how you address Bachelor contestants? The idea is to use hashtags to insert your business in the social conversations, make your business relevant in another sector that probably you wouldn't have been noticed to begin with.
Okay, I love this. Now, here's one of the fears that I hear a lot. And it's amazing to me because to me, I'm one of those people, Jasmine, I have 9 million ideas a minute. Like I have more content ideas on my phone than I have time to put on social media. So I have no shortage of ideas. But here's a fear that I hear from a lot of business owners. They're like, well, what kind of content would I put out? Because my core business is XYZ. So like let's say an example, we have someone that their core business is social media, so they don't want to teach social media on social media because they're scared of like, what do I give away for free? Like there's this fear of like, what do I protect?
Oh, Lord.
You hear
Girl.
this? I hear this all the time.
Girl.
So help us talk about it.
Okay, so I'm going to say something that's wildly unpopular, and I'm okay with that. I've come to believe and know I only want to do two things in my business. I want to attract the right type of customer, and I want to repel the wrong type of customer. So I put a stake in the ground with every statement I make. For me, it is black and white. I give. People aren't buying education. You want to know why? Google exists. YouTube exists. What people have to understand is you can give away the cow and the milk and they're still going to come to you as the farmer because what you provide is guidance, a saving of time, and trust. I've said this 1,000 times over. I literally share what I know, and people still have joined Social Curator, my monthly social media membership. Now, Christy, you know, I show up on social every day. I go live 3, 4, 5 times a week. I am sharing freebies. I am putting content out again and again and again, and people will still join this social media monthly membership. Why? They get closer accessibility, they get private classes, and they get resources to the thing. I have come to believe that education has turned into a commodity, but your services and the way that you package your products are going to be so far different from what you provide. So if you're a business coach, if you're a social media coach, and you're like, I can't talk away social media, the only way you are going to build trust with your audience is to show and give away everything you know. Because when they say, I am getting this much for free without anything, I can't imagine what I'm going to get on the inside.
That's right. That's right.
And you know you're going to deliver. People know they're going to deliver.
And even understanding when you go into it, there will be some people that only consume the free content, and that's totally fine.
Yes.
They're not your customer.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
But what you're doing is you're investing in the relationship with people that are customers and proving yourself. I use the example of Young Life. I don't know if you're familiar with Young Life, Jasmine, but the whole ministry of Young Life, high school ministry for kids, the whole strategy is you go to where high school kids are and earn the right to be heard. So you don't say, come to our church, come to our club, do our thing. You go where they are. So you go hang out at Sonic, you go hang out at football games, freshman cheerleading practices, wherever they are is where you go as a Young Life leader, and you just love them. You love on them, and then when you build a relationship and you've earned the right to be heard, then they're like, hey, so you got a club, you got a camp? Oh, okay, cool, I'll come. But it's like, we so often want to sit back and be like, come to me, come look at me, come buy from me. It's like, go where they are, invest, earn the right to be heard. And with all those gives, you're earning the right to be heard. You're building the trust that then when someone's ready to buy, people buy from those they know, like, and trust, and they know, like, and trust you because you gave to them. So I love that. I love that. Okay, let's talk about mistakes because we all make them on social media. And what's really fun about social media is then they're just so public for just forever.
Amazing.
What are some either mistakes you've seen people make that you've helped them with, or what are some mistakes you've made? I mean, Lord knows, I have plenty myself. So what are some things you maybe learned the hard way and helped people with?
What I see is like a pattern consistently with business owners is that social media has become like this advent to where all of a sudden people look at social media and there's like two camps. You use it for like your personal family vacations and like, oh, the cat got in the Cheerios. And then like I use it to sell like I'm on QVC, right? It's like a constant sales pitch. In both of those situations, if you are using it for business, that's not the best approach. You can get a lot better. Because what happens is people think, well, I'm on Instagram for my business, so I should be talking about my business. My widget comes in green, my widget's on sale, a widget has holiday decorations, buy one widget, get 2 second widgets free. That's not a service. Like nobody on a Friday night is like, you know what I want to do? I want to watch QVC right now.
Right. I want to see more about the green widgets.
I want to see more about the green widgets. That's what I want to do. And so all of a sudden, like you're coming in their feed, giving them something that they may or may not really want at the time. Our objective is to show the humanity of what our business is. And even if you don't have a personal brand, even if you have a company with like 50 people in it, you can show the people and the parts of the business that really say, in a sea of wildly saturated competition, I choose your business because of you, your philosophy, your approach. And the more that we can humanize our business, so remember, social media is called social media because we aim to be social. We don't aim to be sales. And I think that the misnomer is that people think I'm going to use social media to sell. And my big approach is to use social media to show. The sales will come. But you must show who you are. You must show what you sell. You must show what you deliver. And all of those pieces you're technically selling, but so far out from the actual hard pitch that people feel empowered. They feel smart. They feel like they become evangelists for your business. That is exactly what you want. Because Christy knows she has followers who just scroll on by. And then she has followers who leave comments. And then she has followers who DM and then vote on Instagram stories. And then she has followers that when a new book is about to drop, they want pre-sale. They want to put it on their stories. They want to get it packaged so that they could tell their followers early on. Those levels of followers all exist. My objective is the more that I show people and give things away, I move them quickly from being a passive viewer to being evangelist. And I think that is fully what we can do on social media if we're willing to play the long game.
Okay, I love this because like you just walked us through the whole funnel right there. I love everything about it and how social media, if you use it intentionally, can do that for you. It really can have an effect on your business. And I think so many people, especially business owners, can think of this social media thing as like, oh, it's something I'm supposed to do, but I'm not sure how to do it. So it always falls to the bottom of the to-do list and that type of thing. Okay, tell us a little bit about when you were talking about that of like showing up and giving and just being present and investing in those relationships, thinking about your customer, thinking about what do they want? Like what's in it for me, and how you can give that to them, what's in it for them. So how do you do that and have a life? How do you do that and not feel like you always have to be online? How do you do that and have boundaries where you're present with your family, you're not feeling like you always have to check in or go live or whatever? Like, let's talk about like, what does that look like in your world, which social media is a massive part of? Like, what does that look like and how do we do that?
I think it's really important to know what your strengths are. As business owners, there are business owners that are all about like the actual product. They're actually about the systems. They're actually about implementation. There are some founders and business owners who are all about the marketing. And then there's some founders and entrepreneurs who are all about like the team and the culture. None of those kind of like three categories are wrong. It's just really important for us to identify what our strengths are. I've identified one of my strengths is definitely I'm a CEO who's 100% in marketing mode. So that's where I go. Now, if there was another type of like entrepreneur, CEO, who's just like, that's just not really the way that my mind thinks, I would, in that particular case, create a vision for what you want to execute and then bring somebody in to train them about the culture and have them deploy against the very thing that you want. So for me, because I'm always like in marketing mode, I realized I was spending a lot of time in Instagram DMs trying to connect with people, but then feeling like no matter how much I wrote, it just felt like it's still like a disservice because I couldn't actually give like a fully articulate answer.
Right.
So what I started realizing was that a lot of the questions kind of came into 5 categories. Now, it sounds easier than it was. I made plenty of mistakes. I made a ton of like freebies and opt-ins and lead magnets that just didn't go anywhere. Why? I was making a lead magnet that I thought was great, not based on the questions that I was being asked. So I started noticing that there was patterns between, Jasmine, I want to know about branding. Jasmine, I want to know about Instagram. Jasmine, I want to know about a social media schedule. And I was like, So then I created lead magnets for 5 of the top most common questions. So now I can streamline my communication, offer rich and robust information for free, but then also at the same time grow my newsletter list. So probably 8 out of 10 Instagram direct messages, I can point them back to a resource that I feel really proud of, that they're getting value, and then the list is growing. So I can quickly get through DMs really fast and like kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I also have created denoted times in my daily schedule. Answer Instagram DMs here, post on Facebook, post on Instagram, respond to comments, search the hashtags. Like, I'm making sure that I'm doing this, but not like it's like a thing to do. I'm actually working it into my daily schedule. And that has become a game changer for me.
Okay, I love that because you're making it a priority in your business, in your day-to-day rhythms. But then I would imagine that because you have that time blocked, it then gives you permission other times to do something else. Like
100%.
Do yoga, be with your family, not think about it because you're like, oh, I did that. I had that time block and I did that. I love that. And then you can see what you did. You know you checked the box and you are keeping your priorities first. I love it.
Absolutely.
Jasmine, I could talk to you all day about this stuff. This is so fun. And we're going to have so much fun at Business Boutique. Tell us a little bit about maybe an overview or a teaser of what you're going to be speaking about at Business Boutique. I know it's going to be focused on social media, but give us a little bit about kind of what you're excited about.
Absolutely. Well, right now, the hottest and fastest growing social platform is Instagram. In fact, at the point of this recording, has just surpassed the amount of engagement interactions beyond Facebook.
Wow.
That happened, just yesterday. So it's kind of like a big shift. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about is Instagram, but I mean, I'm still a huge fan of Facebook. I'm spending a ton of time there. We're going to be talking about an overall strategy, but it's a strategy that I want to make very clear is that when you have a foundation for how you want to show up and market your business on social media, the foundational tenets are things that could be applied not just on Facebook, not just on Instagram, but whatever the next platform is. We're going to be talking about creating a foundation and really streamlining your approach, casting a vision, and not just using social media to sell, but social media to show, build relationships, and then grow over the long run.
I love it. I know so many people are listening and watching right now. They're going, where can I find you? Where's your website? On social media, all the places. Tell us how we can connect.
Well, I make it very easy. I'm Jasmine Star on all social platforms. You will find me on all social platforms. You'll also find me at jasminestar.com.
I love it. Jasmine, you are amazing. You are such a light in this space, and I think so many women that I work with are just overwhelmed with social media. They're overwhelmed with business in general, and that's why I'm just so excited to have you at our event. We're kindred spirits in this space, just championing women. So thanks for all that you do, and I'll see you really soon. We can't wait to have you.
Thank you. I can't wait. Thank you, Del.
Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want to hear more from Jasmine Star, myself, and all of our amazing speakers, you don't want to miss our Business Boutique Conference in Nashville, October 24th through the 26th. There are just a few seats left, and you want to be sure to go ahead and get your tickets before it sells out. You can get your tickets by clicking the link below.